Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto Atlas. Unless you're new to the channel, then it's nice to meet you guys. For all the regulars that are coming back, great to see you again. And if you guys haven't yet hit subscribe, what have you guys been waiting for? You've been watching my other videos. For those of you that are new, feel free to subscribe. Would love to have you be a part of this community. Drop your comments down below, any thoughts and feedback that you guys have on this episode. In today's episode, we're going to be sharing some news in relationship to Bitcoin. I'm going to be going through those pretty quickly. I want to get to the charts and I want to get into the habit of trying to make these videos a little bit shorter, but still give you guys very good information. If you guys can, please hit that like button. We're trying to get to 50 likes. And as far as subscribers go, we do have a goal. You can see it up above our heads here. We're actually really close to getting to this goal, and 700 would be amazing. Hopefully we can hit 1,000 soon. Thank you guys so much. And so, yeah, going into the actual information here. First thing, let's start off with John McAfee, arrested after DOJ indicts crypto millionaire for tax evasion. Well, the SEC accuses McAfee of being paid more than $23.1 million worth of cryptocurrency assets for promoting a number of ICO token sales without disclosing that he was being paid to do so. Furthermore, the DOJ has levied a number of counts of tax evasion against McAfee, saying that he willfully attempted to evade payment of income taxes owed to the federal government. So here's a kind of a big takeaway from this. If you guys are on Twitter, or if you're not, if you do go on there at some point, you can see that there's a lot of people very active in the cryptocurrency space. Excuse me. One of the people that have been talking a lot about Bitcoin for a long time has been John McAfee, saying price predictions, all these other things. And as they're talking about here, he's also helped pump by speaking positively of certain other cryptocurrency. He didn't disclose that they were paying him a bunch of money. Well, now he's in real big trouble. And he's also famous because he made the McAfee antivirus software. So I just thought that was an interesting little note right there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next bit of information. And this is that the Bitcoin Trump dumps to $10,500. Not great news. MetaMask hits 1 million users. That is good news. And I'll explain a little bit on both. Bitcoin was able to hit $10,800 today before falling on U.S. President Donald Trump's stimulus tweet. So getting close to pushing to that $11,000 range. We do have a bit of a sell wall that's going on over at the $11,000 range. So it's going to be pretty hard trying to get past that. And with the upcoming election and a lot of the other stuff that's going on right now, you got the state of the economy with the coronavirus, and you got the whole stock market that is having craziness too. So yeah, this is it's a very bizarre point in time for us with this stuff. Bitcoin's price was able to climb to $10,800 on spot exchanges such as Coinbase Tuesday before falling to as low as $10,528 immediately after President Trump tweeted his rejection of opposition lawmakers' most recent economic stimulus proposal. On the good side, MetaMask, if you guys use Ethereum, you can use this being built in. I've used it before, and it makes it a lot more smooth and easy to be able to make transactions, and you're using the gas prices, right? And essentially you establish a certain amount of funds within your MetaMask, and then to go do your purchases, you can just pull that right up in your browser. You can log in and out, and there's recovery methods you can use. So it's very interesting. MetaMask Wallet, a browser extension that allows users to interact with the Ethereum network, as I said, and its multitude of smart contract-based decentralized finance, or DeFi applications, has hit 1 million users. It's a fourfold increase to the wallet since 2019, with the United States, India, Nigeria, and the Philippines as the top countries with highest MetaMask usage, according to its software developer consensus. More users, awesome. More people get involved in DeFi, awesome. More people get involved with cryptocurrency, absolutely awesome. More people using tools that involves third-party applications, awesome. And in the browsers, awesome, cool. I love this. Great information. 4 times from last year. Oh my gosh, what is 2021 gonna look like? We'll have to take a look and see, right? Next thing, Bitcoin price holds 10,500, 30 million sell wall. So as I was just kind of talking about here a minute ago, a 2,800 Bitcoin sell wall on Binance heightens the chance of a sell off and is keeping Bitcoin price trapped below $11,000. So in the last 2 years, the fourth quarter hasn't really been that great, and doesn't mean that it's a continuing factor, right? So it's been the last 2 years, but that means that there's other times in the fourth quarter it's done good. You look at 2017 going to 2018, that's when that big rally was taking place. Right now there's a lot of volatility to be expected, because the volatility for Bitcoin, and I believe I mentioned this in my previous video yesterday, is essentially at a low point since a long time ago, since back in 2017, 2018. So we should be expecting that meter to start going off, right? Bitcoin recorded net negative returns in the fourth quarter the last 2 years. Some attribute this to cyclical movements, while others suggest it is purely coincidental. So because you're seeing both sides, to me, it already kind of comes across as not necessarily a big reference point. But right now, because of the three major factors that we have going on in stocks, the election, and the coronavirus or COVID, right? All that stuff is definitely going to cause a dampen on this. So something else that's actually some pretty good news, the whole e-contract, right? Sort of smart contracts, that kind of idea. When you look at Ethereum and the blockchain and what Ethereum essentially came out to do, we're starting to see even more developments. I talked about in a previous video that they're talking about with the upcoming election. They found a way to use Bitcoin's blockchain to put smart contracts in, and these two people have it set up depending on who wins the election, Trump or Biden, or even there's a circumstance if somehow a third party was to win. So that's actually really interesting. Now we're talking about it with actually doing contract signing, let's say for a new job. So Woolite is a French startup whose business model revolves around this very application, a DocuSign of sorts that uses Bitcoin. The project has been quietly building for 4 years. Woolite debuted a front end last month, having sold application programming interfaces API for its software for the past few years. With Woolite Sign, we plan to demonstrate our ability to address electronic signatures with the same level of user experience as the traditional actors in this space. The software as a service application will help us to promote our highly customizable API for signature workflows in various business applications, Gilles Cardiganen, the CEO of Woolite, told CoinDesk. Next bit of news. $9 trillion in stimulus injections. The Fed's 2020 pump eclipses 2 centuries of USD creation. Not that great of news. This is kind of a lagging indicator. It starts to affect a lot more of the markets, not immediately when they make these kind of changes. But, still, the fact is that $9 trillion, that's a lot. Well, just how much is $9 trillion? We have been around for about 200 years, correct? The United States of America. Since September 2019, research shows the Federal Reserve has pumped over $9 trillion to primary dealers by leveraging enormous emergency repo operations. A recently published investigative report shows the U.S. Central Bank submits the daily loan tally, but the Fed will not provide the public with information concerning the recipients. That's really shady. Estimates say in 2020 alone, the U.S. has created 22% of all the USD issued since the birth of the nation. Just this year alone, more than 1/5, right? We're not even done with this year. 22%. More than 1/5 of all the money. This is insane. Absolutely insane. Well, what about cryptocurrency? How's it doing today? It's a sea of red, and it is very bloody. And this, we get news and it catches you off guard. And I've said in previous videos, on the side note too, I'm not a financial advisor. So, yeah, all right, I said it. So anything can happen. New news can come out. Everything can look absolutely amazing. When you're doing technical analysis and looking at the charts, you're looking at probability. It is more likely to do this than that. We don't predict these things. And other people on other channels, they use the word predictions, right? I look at it as a forecast. Sometimes the weather can change, right? And unfortunately, this is one of those circumstances. A lot of indicators with Orchid, one of the cryptocurrencies I'm really interested in, and a lot of you guys that watch my channel are also interested in. I like to do an ongoing checkup on this. I have a good amount invested in this personally. That's my personal project that I'm invested into. Okay, everyone's got their own big key ones that they got. This is one of mine, so I'm keeping a close eye on it. And anyways, you take a look here in the 24 hours, a big sea of red, right? Puma Pay, just the other day, it was doing absolutely amazing. And now, boom, massive, massive dump. Ocean Protocol, massive dump. Elrond, Aave, or Aave, however you said that one. I don't know, actually, to be honest. You're in .finance. We got Kusama, Loopring, Uniswap. Jeez. You know, some big name projects are seeing some massive drops. Omizago, OMG, VeChain. The list just goes on and on. Everything is just this massive sea of red going on down. And you look at the top 24 for the last hour. EOS has seen some gains here, pushing up about 5%. You can see it's already having a bit of a retracement back, though. Ethereum Classic, that's interesting, right? I mean, except for the EOS, these ones, it's kind of like, really? You got USD coin. Oh my God, up 0.02% at $1 when it's a stable coin at the equivalent of $1. Like, wow, that's number 3 for the biggest gains of the day. That's not great news, right? So anyways, not a lot of good news in the actual cryptocurrency space for the last 24 hours. If we go take a look now at the charts here, I'm gonna go ahead and let's take a look at Bitcoin, and then we'll finish off with some stuff on Orchid, and I'll try and go through this pretty quickly for you guys. And again, if you guys are enjoying the content and you haven't already, please don't forget to hit like, and also feel free to subscribe. And yeah, so just continuing up the last little bit with this, right? Looking at this on the daily. If we take a look on the daily right here, you can actually see that we're still in this very large, very large ascending wedge pattern, right? But on just a slightly more micro time frame off of the daily, you can see that we have what looks to be a symmetrical triangle. And so we're just kind of waiting to see how this plays out. That bottom support line, I didn't drop it down further because we have that very stabilized over the long run. And you can even see as we zoom in a bit here that you've got bounces off on these days. It closed out on this day as of this moment right now of today, October 6th, almost 10 p.m. at night. It is below that level of support. So that's not great news, but it's still pretty close to the 21 EMA. We got to get back up to almost 10,700, just underneath that, to tap that 21 EMA. And you can see the 21 EMA is also flatlined out quite a bit here. So 21 EMA, very flat. Volatility, very flat. We got the upcoming election and all the other stuff I talked about. When something decides to pop soon, we could see a really dramatic move. Like when Bitcoin just plummeted, for example, that was a really big move, right? Back over here. That was one single day. Look at how big that red candle is. Just one day. Boom, right? Who knows? We might see it on the upswing. There's a lot of indications still suggesting that we could see it on the upswing. Some people still think it's going to fill the CME gap. Some people feel that too many other cryptocurrencies are entering the space, and those projects have a lot of promise, and people want to put their funding in those, right? So, like, it's the name of the game, and the game sometimes changes a little bit. And when everyone thinks that it's going to hit 100,000 projections, and you got the stock to flow model and all this other stuff, new stuff comes out that we didn't plan for. We can't predict everything, right? When is a teleporter going to come out, right? When is the next ability to be on Mars and on the moon simultaneously because you somehow are doppelganging yourself? You know, like if you come up with weird concepts, somebody out there might make these things, and it's hard to do what we do already, but to know every answer, you'd have to be on a whole other level, and none of us are, okay? So anyways, let's take a look at this. If we have the symmetrical triangle, we could potentially, if this has a further drop, we could see levels potentially pulling down to say 9,450. And if you look at the CME future gap, that was at the bottom line, right around $9,600 or so. So this fits pretty closely within that kind of a concept if it decided to go ahead and make that drop. On the positive side, if it decides to have a continuation up here on today's situation, right, then we could see it pull up to right around just under $12,000, which would be quite interesting. It has to break through that $11,000 range as we had talked about. You could see even just a little bit above $11,000. There was a couple bounces off that took place, and so it's going to be very, very interesting whenever it decides to make one move or the other. But we could see a lot of up and down even take place in a single day. But more than likely, it's going to make a strong push in one direction over the other. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. Looking at it on the 4-hourly chart here, you can see same basic principle idea. It is still forming within this sideways symmetrical triangle pattern. And I would say just kind of keep an eye out here. We could see, I think, more realistically, a more definitive move by as late as October 9th. We are already seeing it breaking down below that level of support, so it might have officially started its position, but you can see it does dip down sometimes, and then it pulls itself back up and retests that top point. We could see this as a little bit of a fake out. Remember, this too is on the 4-hourly. If we take a look on the daily, you can see the daily, it's the current day that's down below. We haven't had an actual closeout to establish a position. And if you have 2 days of positions, that forms a lot more strongly. Anything with trends, you want to typically look for 3 or more, right? So the fact that we don't even have one fully confirmed day yet doesn't necessarily mean that this is a full-on situation. Could end up being a full reversal. You see the level of the wick in comparison to some of these other ones, it's not as low. So I would say that the fact we're still above $10,000, we're still holding that on the daily as of the moment itself, still good signs. It's got a strong base. It's just in this median zone right now, and we might see a lot more of the sideways action taking place. It could even further continue out because of the irregularities such as COVID with the president and with the stock market situation, the federal printing, all this crazy stuff. Now we go ahead and take a look over here on Orchid, and geez, I keep meaning to make these videos shorter, and then I take a look at it and I'm like, I'm doing good, and the next thing I know, I look at it, I'm like, whoop, okay, that's turned out to be a long video. So let's take a look at it very, very briefly on the daily. Really, really big red candle drop. I mentioned before that we were forming a lot of bearish signs, and I was getting a bit bullish because we were nearing that top level of resistance, right? And I'm like, okay, we got a lot of indications, and I gave you a couple different formats saying that it could push up higher. Fundamentally, when you take a look at it, I also said with this pattern that that's a bearish based pattern. We were on the higher end side, so it pulled down lower, and guess what? It broke that level of support, and it did fulfill what an actual pattern's percentage chances say, and it had a further decline down. So I bought in, I got some more. As it is right now, it's further down than where I bought in personally. So this could be a good new buying opportunity. But technically, I could have gotten a little bit lower myself. That's just my personal position. But man, talk about a big red candle with its pull down. And what's actually interesting is that it just broke down below the 0.382 on the Fibonacci retracement level. And when it closed out on the daily, you can see that it was almost right on the actual Fibonacci retracement level. It was just slightly above it within this big region zone, right? And as it is right now, we are still below on that actual circumstance as we have a continuation out. The descending wedge pattern that we have right here, we are still getting closer to that level of resistance, which is still a bullish sign every day that it gets closer and closer. And as it is right now, if it continued sideways here, then we would look at 2 days. In another 2 days, we should see more than likely a positive gain, unless it just continues to wanting to use this essentially as a guide to keep going down, which is crazy, but we saw this long consolidated space right here. And again, the uncertainty with things, if Bitcoin decides it wants to start going down, if people just feel like there's not enough interest in this, you also have the fact that not all the circulating supply with Orchid is still being put out. More people might get it, and they just want to take their temporary profits right now. Maybe they want to just have cash on hand. Maybe they're hearing all this other news and it's scaring them, and they don't want to take chances with things, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's going into play, and it is what it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at it on the 4-hourly chart. Or was it the 1 hour chart? Yeah, it was the 1 hour chart that I had set up here. On the 1 hour chart, you can see that we have a little bit of a descending wedge pattern taking place, and we could potentially see a bit of a breakout if it does move on the upside here, hopefully. And we could see it pushing back up to right around the region zone that it was at before, which is basically right along that baseline if it had a continuation of that support that was off of that broadening wedge, that broadening ascending wedge, right? If that line was to continue out, it's almost right in line with that, which puts it right around 26 cents. We could see it potentially having to climb back up with that, but this thing has been dropping down more and more and more. I mean, hypothetically, let's say we're just to even see another drop like what had taken place back here, then we might see a pull down all the way around to 22 cents. And at 22 cents, if you look back historically, let's go back to the daily, 22 cents on this scale, 22 cents being right about here, is essentially putting it right at the top of where these wicks took place with these candles. And then they had a bounce off. So that's probably going to be a very long, you can even see it almost on a third instance right here, all very, very close. That could be a strong level of support, and that's just slightly above the 0.236 on the Fibonacci retracement too. So if it's going to drop anywhere low at this point, that feels like the strongest level of support. A further decline like that is just going to fill right back into where it was before, which would be very shocking to me, but is it really that shocking at this point? Anyways, guys, that does it for this video. Again, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button and drop a comment down below. Let's see if we can get to 50 likes. Let's see if we can hit this goal. Let's see if we can hit 700 on the road to 1,000. You guys are awesome. You're awesome. You're awesome. You're all awesome. Check underneath your chair. There's some awesome. Oh, you thought it was a new car? Well, I mean, MasterCard, life is priceless, or whatever the saying is. I don't know. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode.